2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Just doing my thing.
What? You look shocked.
It's got some bass in them. I'm not used to that.
That's how it's supposed to be. Welcome to the Voice of C38. I am Brendan White. Thank you for tuning in. It's the off season now, so what are we going to talk about? We got a little bit of a list of some stuff. Parag went on Vic's show, so we'll talk about that because we know people who listen to this ain't going to be listening to Vic.
Well, that didn't take you long.
Nope, it didn't.
Nobody's going to be listening to Vic.
Right. So let's say hi to my crew today because we changed it up a little bit. Hi, Brian.
Aloha, friends. Save the crew.
There it is. Tammy.
Hello.
She's back briefly.
Woo!
Colin.
Ahoy, mateys, or something. I need to come up with better greeting.
Wow, that was terrible.
That was awful.
That's why he's got the intern tag until he figures this out.
Back in the corner he goes.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Drunken Monk. How
Well
many beers
met.
are we in today?
3.
All right.
Nice.
That's a good starting number, I suppose.
When's the whiskey come out?
That's what I'm drinking now.
Oh, that a baby. He's on lap number 2.
So where do we want to start, guys? Anywhere specifically? Just the Parag interview, or
Yeah, it's probably the best way to start. Like, the rest of it kind of rolls off of that, really. I guess, kind of. A little bit.
okay. So
A little bit.
I'll kind of get us started a little bit. So he went on Vic Lombardi's show, which is Altitude Network. I think it's kind of something that they had to do, which is fine. And most of what we heard or what was said was kind of stuff that we've heard before, except for that they kind of made it very clear, or he made it very clear that they know who they want, they have their guy, and hopefully we should have a name in a couple weeks. So while there's rumors and everything else floating around about coaches and who that could be, you could kind of pay attention to it if you want. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We weren't told necessarily, on or off record, but we can always speculate.
I mean, you see
But-
rumors
Ryan
all
Giggs.
over. It's the New Zealand coach is a done deal.
According to a handful, well, I wouldn't say a handful of sources, but maybe 2. But that's the biggest rumor. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a while since we've had to really kind of look at a rumor like that,
4 years.
right? So, dag. Excuse
Wow.
me. Sorry, guys. One of the other things that was mentioned was a number as far as roster moves. And this is kind of something that we speculated and talked about kind of as the season closed, who would be protected, who wouldn't. We never really kind of fully had that discussion. Maybe we could kind of touch on that some more because Parag did say 9 to 11 changes in the roster. Some of the questions that were brought up, is that mean coming in or coming out? And I think that means both. And then one of the other questions that was brought up is, does that mean filling the roster? And we had a discussion with Ryan Madden yesterday when we did the filming for Untapped, and we're going to play some of the audio from that. And he kind of broke down the roster a little bit. And if you listen and pay attention to the perception of what he's saying and maybe the perception of the front office and how they fill the roster, I think there's a difference between what fans think a full roster is versus what a club thinks a full roster is. So maybe we can kind of bridge that gap. Other than that, the cleaning up of the roster, some flexibility, that all kind of goes together. He mentioned some front office changes, which again, that was kind of some of the stuff that was mentioned prior, bringing in a director of sports medicine or sports
What about
science.
some yogi? You
Yeah,
want some yogi.
some yo-yo yogi kind of, but more involved, I suppose.
Which he had hinted to, remember, a while back.
Months ago.
Yeah.
So this is definitely not something new, but it's definitely still something that's on their radar and really important. I think one of the other things that a lot of the fans and supporters are paying attention to that was brought up in the interview was Gashi and his fitness. And he basically said that Gashi didn't really necessarily follow the off-season program that they had set in place, and he came into camp unfit, and it kind of led to nagging injuries throughout the season. And Gashi and him had a chat and is committed 110% to turning it around and making sure that there's no issues like that coming up next year. So that's good to know.
I want to follow Gashi's plan this offseason.
Yeah. You might need to follow yours, dude. Your diet's something crazy.
Yeah.
I know he won't even eat the tailgate food. Like, he just starves himself, is the truth.
There's no lettuce out there. That's what he needs.
Just eats like a rabbit.
Yep, pretty
He's on
much.
the rabbit menu.
Almost rabbit food, almost.
We need to have a grazing garden at the tailgate.
There you go. He wouldn't be the only one, though. I'm sure that there are plenty of other people that would partake in the vegetarian selection, I suppose. Thoughts, guys,
Like you said, we knew most of this information, or at least thought that this was going to be the way it was. I guess the big things for us would be that Cook is going to stay with the organization, but obviously we'll probably can just kind of roll into that unless people want to really discuss too much more of the actual interview.
I think the one interesting thing that I picked out, knowing the things that we did already, was he basically put out there's going to be 9 to 11 new players. That's
Changes.
over changes. What same to me? That's just under half your roster.
I think that is two very different things here.
what do you mean?
Because technically, if you do a change, you could say there's 4 players going out is a change, and then 5 players coming in is 5 changes, and then 9 changes.
Exactly.
There's not
it might not be 11 players are going to be gone. It might be that you're transitioning, and they're counting those transitions as changes because they didn't say players out; they specifically said changes.
So you're saying, you could figuratively put in 5 in, 5 out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could go that way. I think that, and you'll hear this later. I disagree. They'd be fine with 21, 22 players on the roster.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
Well, I just thought that was he actually came out and said, because you don't hear people in that position come out and say, there will be people gone.
Well, and
there will be people coming in.
Okay, let me ask this. Saying that, do you think that those people have already been told?
Yes. I'll bet they knew on the day after they came home from Seattle. That's usually how they work it.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of those changes in and outgoing players are going to be based on the coach that's coming in. So I think the coach could technically be waiting until this coach is finalized and he kind of gets some decision making into it, because that's the way they've kind of discussed it this whole second half of the season, is that he might not be the one doing the hiring, but he's going to be involved.
Right, but so then on that line, what's a new coach coming in? How is he going to evaluate players that he hasn't already been able to through videotape and whatever?
So that's definitely been a valid question that people have been asking, and people have asked about how do we know that this, and this was kind of something we were talking about in the pre-show. How do we know he's going to be Rapid's way? Well, that's the whole fucking point.
Right, they wouldn't hire him if he wasn't.
Exactly. So why ask that question? He wouldn't be part of the hire if that wasn't, part of the issue. So
yeah, but I'm just saying, as far as to the point of player selection or player movement, he doesn't know anything more in a month from now as he's known a month ago, because all he's had to go on is the word of others and what he's seen on tape. So that was just kind of what I was getting at.
Well, but he still hasn't been able to make those decisions, or I don't even know how much that would be in the interview process, a discussion on that level. Like, that's...
I don't think...
I'm sure he has his ideas, and it might have been kind of discussed, but actually going to, I don't want this player, I want this player in an interview process seems a little bit in-depth for something that hasn't been officially signed.
well, maybe that's a question we can ask, because at some point we're going to have an Untapped episode where we might be able to
Put the whiskey down.
where we might be able to ask that question about the coaching search, because
Yeah.
once it's all over, we've kind of been told that we're going to get to be told about the process. Now, obviously, they're not going to be able to tell us everything, but they are going to be able to let us know what some of it's like. I mean, we're going to even hear later on, actually, from Ryan about one of the things that they did to kind of woo Stefan Eigner. Kind of interesting and a funny little story. So we'll get to hear from that a little later. How about that for a little foreshadow?
Did they go to Breckenridge for the Oktoberfest?
No, it's just a little something they did right there. I know I brought up microbreweries, and he's like, oh, no, we didn't do that. Maybe for the next one. So anyway, moving forward, guys, any other thoughts as we kind of talk about
Speaking of coaching,
yeah, Steve Cook. Yeah. That was one of the other things taken away, kind of, is that they really intend to have Cookie be a part of the staff. So despite the fact that he made it very clear that they were going to hire outside of the organization, he also made it very clear that Steve Cook would still be a part of the Rapids organization. Now, he didn't say in what capacity,
Right.
but he did say that they have every ambition to keep Steve on staff.
Now, I wonder if that means he'll be bench staff again, or if he'll move up into like a Paul Bravo type role.
I don't know if he would want that type of role.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Don't you think? I mean, knowing him and his history, I would think if he's not a part of the bench staff, then he would maybe work with Marcelo and be a part of the academy.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd want to do that. I think that he'd want to be part of the bench staff, and I think that
Well, yeah, right?
from our discussions with multiple people, including Smith and Ryan, it sounds like they want him on that bench staff. Because that's like, if you're bringing in a coach from outside of the organization, may or may not have MLS experience, so it would be helpful for them to use Cook as that kind of, hey, this is the way it works in the MLS, and this is kind of how players have to train differently, and it'd be great to tap into his knowledge and his ability to work with the players.
Well, and that's what Parag made it sound like, they want to do, because he has that expertise and experience with these players in this league. I think it would be a really ideal partnership for the new coach, whoever it may be, to have with Steve Cook.
well, and his MO has always been development of the organization, being a player's coach,
Players first.
and development of the players themselves. So, yeah, I mean that's always been what you're getting with him, and he's done a really good job with it. The players will even tell you that.
For sure. What do you guys think? Are you happy about that? Where would you like to see him?
Colin,
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
Is he still mad we put him in the corner from the beginning of the
Yeah,
show?
Always.
He's still mad he couldn't get the intro right.
Well, it's just he's got his little yellow notepad, and he'll just scratch that one off, and we'll see what happens next week. What's next on the list?
He's been on mute the last 20 minutes working on new ones.
Personally, I'm glad to see that Cook is staying with the organization in some capacity. But honestly, I'm also very glad that they didn't turn around and just give him the head coach position.
I think that's kind of really the best scenario for both Cookie and the Rapids, I think.
You'd have been setting him up to fail, really. I don't think he was really ready for any more than Pablo was.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
he's been in the game a lot, in that capacity
Well, I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
but it's
not
very
to be set
different
up
being
to
a
fail,
player's
because
coach.
about 30 years.
I think in that capacity, he kind of knew, like, you're coaching throughout the rest of the season, and the possibility of you keeping the head coaching job are probably smaller than me keeping my general manager job. So, in turn, I don't know if he would necessarily would be too bent with the whole process. I think if he doesn't really take too much of a demotion, which I mean, I don't know if, and that's maybe one of those questions that we can kind of ask upon, because for Porag to say, yes, Steve is going to be a part of the organization moving forward,
If Steve wants to.
that means there's been a conversation or 5 between Cookie, Porag, and
the way Ryan was
potential
talking,
new head coach.
We'll have to find out.
What's that, Austin?
From what Ryan was saying a little bit yesterday, it was that it sounds like, at least for now, he wants to stay with the organization as well. It doesn't sound like they're going, hey, you still have an option to stay here. I think he, at least currently, wants to stay with the Rapids.
Yeah, that's definitely what I picked up on too, and why would you not? I mean, I think good things are kind of starting to unfold, and if you can kind of be a part of this, I don't know, what is this, Rapids 5.0, I suppose?
Rapids way, come on.
Either way.
We rolled backwards a little bit. Maybe we're at 1.5.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, well, didn't it Windows change something once where they were like XP?
Oh, we Rapids XP.
Yeah.
We're Vista.
Oh God, no! Please don't say that. That was a rough experience. Yeah, holy crap! That would be like AOL beta or something. Going backwards.
Colin's like, what are those?
I do know what those are. I'm not.
Was that a part of your
young.
history lesson in high school?
Yeah.
I remember learning freaking Windows 2000 when I was like 6.
Meanwhile, we had to learn Apple OS.
Dude, I had typing class in high school. So.
That is awesome.
With a legit typewriter.
Showing your age a little bit there, Brian.
Yep.
You just made me feel a lot better. I was gonna.
How were 8-tracks?
And green screen? And not the green screen you have for video. The green computer screen where there's only the green screen and light green
Command
text. Yep.
Oh,
We digress.
all right.
And it was the size of
We
the desk.
do.
Yeah. So one of the other things, and we've kind of, I guess, is there anything else we kind of want to touch on the interview before we kind of maybe talk about Ryan and kind of some of the stuff that we chatted about without giving away too much of our TV show?
Brendan
Let's
loves
get
Vic.
ourselves untapped.
Yeah. All right. Austin, your experience, what did you think? How was it for you?
It was great. Thanks, obviously, for having it on. It's Brendan's venture than mine, but he happened to be doing it at my favorite brewery. So how do I pass up that opportunity to go out there? But Ryan was great. On and off record, he was really nice. He was very honest and candid with his answers. We did a flight of beer and had some fun with that, which I thought was a blast.
Yeah.
And I think we got some real answers without getting too finite about them, because obviously he can't give away the farm at the moment, but
or at all, really.
he gave us enough information. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel that we felt more informed without being told the answer.
Which is really kind of, in a weird way, kind of what we want. And you kind of just opened up really me being able to play his transparency quotes that he kind of gave us. And this is kind of being a 2-part, but we kind of asked him moving forward and how he got the job, what was kind of his ambitions and the direction, because it's definitely been a difference since he took over in June. So here we go. I'm going to have to make some changes here so that way everybody can hear live and recording. So bear with me.
Way we're getting the communication now has really come from you. And one of the questions I
that
have
you?
is, were you given a direction when you took the job, or is this kind of part of your ambition and what you want to do moving forward with the dream job?
No, it's a tremendous question. I think, I made it fairly clear in the interview process what I wanted to accomplish in a role like this. And that is simply to be the most transparent, media and community friendly club in all of Major League Soccer. I without boring you to death, I did a graduate program at Ohio University, and we studied how organizations communicate with their fan base and the public. And I think for a lot of organizations, there's especially professional sports organizations, there's a reluctance to want to go out and communicate a transparent vision. Because in some ways, then you have to be held accountable, right, to that vision that you're articulating. And some people find a little bit of discomfort in that. But I was fortunate enough that coming in with both Wayne and Porig, you had two people who were the leadership of the club who embraced that and said, let's do it. Let's go be the most transparent club in Major League Soccer. Let's tell people exactly what we want to accomplish, exactly where we want to go, and exactly how we want to get there. And then let's be held accountable to that vision.
So that's part one, which let that soak in for a second. Now part two.
Look, going from a team who has been known for its defensive solidity and its ability to grind out results to a team that wants to play a more attack-minded, free-flowing, aesthetically pleasing version of the game isn't something that happens overnight. And I think we're all going into this with the understanding that it's going to take a while. The transition's going to happen incrementally over time. And we're just going to try to make sure the processes are in place and we're taking the right steps in the short and long term to make that happen. But it has to evolve, and it'll get better and better and better. It'll be better next year than it was this year. And the hope is it'll be better in 2019 than it is in 2018. And at some point, you get to bring an MLS Cup back to Colorado, right? And that's the ultimate goal. And that has to be the ultimate goal.
As a supporter, that's great.
Oops, I think I played the wrong quote back and forth,
What?
but oh well. That's all right. That'll work. So that was transparency and bringing MLS Cup back. So I played 2 and 2 together. I haven't played the roster one yet. If you guys want to, or do you want to kind of chat about what he just said there in the last 2 clips?
Let's
play it, and then we'll talk about all of it.
Yeah, I think it's easier.
All righty then.
I think we believe that you have to stand for something, or you kind of stand for nothing. And we know what we want to stand for. And now it's just about getting there. And we're already, the steps are already being taken, the process is already in place. And I think as a fan, look, if you're a Rapids fan, this is a really exciting time. Things are changing, and they're changing for the better. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I feel really fortunate to be a part of it, really lucky to be a part of it. And I think that's the prevailing opinion of most of the front office. But you're asking about the roster slots, and I think one thing that's really important, and it kind of comes back to the communications piece a little bit. This is probably something that we could have communicated better before the season, right? If we were going to have 18 first-team roster spots instead of 20, I think before the season it would have been something that would have been fairly easy for us to come out and explain what that is. Hopefully going forward, we will do that. But to put it into context a little bit, you have a first-team roster that is between 18 and 20 players. And for that 18 to 20 players, you have a finite amount of money that you can spend. So if you go for the full 20, that's less money that you can spend on the individual players. Whereas if you have 18, you can spend more money on the 18 and then fill the additional spots through the supplemental roster. A lot of teams in the league do that. Toronto does that, right? And they just set the MLS points, record. So I think we're open to having the conversation of, can we do it better? Is there a more, efficient approach? But at the moment, we think having 18 and making sure that we're maximizing the amount of money we're spending on that 18 is the best way to go about it.
Well,
So they're going to leave themselves some wiggle room, sounds like.
Or that's maybe kind of what they've been trying to do. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, we've questioned why there's been quote unquote open roster spots when we look at what we think is a full roster versus what they think is a full roster. And hopefully that will maybe clear some things up with some people.
And he stated that if maybe once we get Padraig on, he can kind of explain the MLS policies and working around those, because it's like even those of us that follow pretty well the MLS, we don't understand the policies that well. So it's a very convoluted, very complicated system. And so hearing him basically state, hey, there's a reason that we did that. It wasn't by mistake. It wasn't a poor decision. We did it on purpose because of this reason.
Well, and it was not only that. He also said maybe we could have communicated that better too. So it was nice to kind of hear somewhat of a subtle apology. But that was also when he wasn't around. And that's kind of the beginning of the season. Plus, that no one really actually brought up, I think, to them, why have you not filled up any rosters? Because
it was only on like Facebook.
Well, yeah, we can ask certain questions and you can have people put in comments and things like that. But I don't think, even though, there's been a handful of us all upstairs that have questioned it from time to time, I think that's one of those questions we're just all afraid to ask. But I wasn't this time, and I got us an answer. So hopefully that will suffice. Yes? No? I don't know. I was cool with it. Works for me because it gave me a different perspective of, okay, now I see how they see it. It's unfortunate, though, that this league does not have reserves because it would make even more sense then.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's also something that we've talked about with the structure of soccer, the structure of this league, what's wrong with, I mean, the U.S. getting eliminated with the World Cup. It just opens up this whole discussion of the foundation of development of soccer in the United States, and not having a reserve league does not help us one bit.
Yeah, I agree. I've been bitching about that since they got rid of it. I just think not only for your
don't
for
give
the
me
country,
some
but
fucking
for your
cost
club.
bullshit. That's exactly it. It's developmental.
Absolutely.
Because these kids are not ready from college to MLS. If you want to make MLS a real contended league in the rest of the world, you need to start having a serious separation from college to pro. And right now, there still isn't a whole lot of separation from college to pro when you got guys that are getting drafted and coming out, and some of them are turning into, not just rookie of the year, but the best player of the league. When you've got guys like David Villa and Kaká and Giovinco, I mean, you still have some of these other college kids that are, I mean, yeah, they're good, but are they really that good?
Well, and how are you supposed to
not getting the
develop
best
MLS players
access to the best coaches?
How do roster spots 12 through 20 whatever do anything? They train for an hour and a half a day,
and maybe if they're lucky, they'll get an Open Cup game or two.
And what, 3 guys go to Charlotte? I mean, come on.
And that's just our affiliate because of the way we have things worked out. Other teams have to go and make their own Galaxy 2 or whatever the fart, Swoop Park Rangers and, all sorts of different, but, it really kind of, and that's kind of, I guess, maybe where that separates our team with some of the others as far as what to do with those players.
And that's where you get that's where you get the divide of the haves and the have-nots. That's where the league needs to step in and say, all right, look, we need to make this, if we're going to talk parity, we've got all these, I mean, let's face it, it's still a single entity. You still have the salary rules. If you're going to make it, fair for everybody, have your reserve division. Don't allow 6-8 teams to have a number 2 side that plays USL, and the rest of these teams like ours were on their own. They can't do it. But if it was a league mandated program, that's gonna raise everybody.
Well,
look at, you see it across all of our stuff. Even again, we can't go through a cast without complaining about pro.
It wouldn't be a cast without complaining about pro. It wouldn't be a cast
without it, but that's the reason that they also struggle. There's not a system in place to take someone from their younger years into being a professional. It's all about schooling and then going into college and then doing that. Or with the refereeing, there's not even anything. It's literally just you can go out and get your certifications and that's it. They don't do real training. They don't go, hey, work your way up from U15.
Oh man,
I don't know.
Tell you, I had a 19-year-old ref for our U30 game on Sunday. I mean, he had the man bun ponytail in the front of his head with some little ziggy zag sign around like hairdo thing on the side of his head. Oh, my team, this shit happened, man. Like the 2 Americans were sitting there waiting to play Everyone else just walked off the field because this kid wouldn't blow the whistle for shit. Just couldn't referee the game to the point where all but 2 of us were ready to walk off in the 50th minute. It just turned into a big shit show.
Oh, we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, it just, I kind of, in a weird way, Austin, I get what you're saying. Brian got a little lost in it, but if we did have reserve leagues, and maybe that would be a place where we could put some of these younger referees who are up and coming, and it wouldn't necessarily affect some of these bigger games. That's not a bad idea either. I mean, the reserve league is nothing but good for every single club. Unfortunately, for the owners and the commissioner, it was a little bit of more of a money sponge. And when you're a team like the Rapids, and technically you're losing money every year, you add the reserves to it, you're losing even more money in their eyes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's unfortunate they don't have a women's team either. They lost money. And it's just, I think that's the problem with soccer in the United States is it's not business savvy enough for some of these people who have the money that are running it. And they don't just do it despite losing money, because at some point you're going to start making money back, but no one has the patience to just start doing things.
Well, I think you run the same issue. So if you look at it from, say, the NFL, which obviously has done a great job with marketing and creating a great brand within America, but if you go outside of America, they don't thrive because they ride on the factor that they are the best in the U.S. So I think that's part of the problem is a lot of people are coming from cultures that soccer is what you do. There is no competition. That is what it is. You can create a league anywhere else in the world, and it'll at least get a decent-sized fan base. And in America, you have to fight for it.
Well, yeah, you are competing with other leagues and other sports and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I think soccer just needs to do soccer and not worry about competing with NFL and NBA and NHL and looking at all the other. If we just do soccer and not worry about other sports and other competitors and all that other kind of shit, eventually things will just take off. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. And maybe that's also kind of why I have the approach to everything that I've done with C38. I think it's just, we need to be out there, and whether it's just C38 or whether it's not, there needs to be some soccer talk, because there isn't. And, I'm not going to bore people with other sports. Listen to me if you want to listen to some soccer.
Oh, so we're not going to talk Broncos tonight?
They do play tonight, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, we don't care one bit.
Not one bit.
And
in
we're
fact,
way better than that Vic show or whatever.
Don't either.
Exactly.
I care one bit.
Well, no, there was
Vic Lumberyard.
9 News.
Oh, Vic. Yeah, exactly. Big
Rick, Nick. Oh, Vic. Right, that show.
You guys love him, don't you?
Oh man.
I listened to him because I had to.
Yeah. Well,
Straight up.
it's probably like he probably picked up maybe like 75 more listeners that day because they put it out there that Poreg would be on the show, but it's not like they gained any listeners after that either. I listened for about 15, 20 minutes after the interview, and it was...
Oh, poor soul.
Wow.
I didn't
That's
make
more
it that
than
far.
Well, I'll be honest.
I got Poreg, thank you.
It made me think, well, we need to be on some airwaves because we're not so bad, I guess. Just say it.
I think a lot of that is because we kind of, you guys more than me, but you guys know what you're talking about.
And we care to know what we're talking about, and we'll give an
Vig
interest.
is clearly just talking soccer because that's like a contractual obligation he has.
Well, you can look at it from two different sides. So you look at Vic, kind of forced to do it, and then you look at someone like Connor McGahey. That wasn't his main thing, and he's done a great job, I think. And he's come from a similar kind of not his background, and still does a great job.
Exactly.
Personally, I think McGahey has done an absolutely fantastic job. I love
he's embraced it.
Everything he does.
Yeah, he's embraced his position and what he does with the club and with altitude. You can't say that about someone else that we were just briefly talking about.
Damn Nick.
Rick Lumberyard.
I like that. You make a meme out of that or something. That's kind of funny. Rick Lumberyard. I did.
Yeah.
Rick Lumberyard. I thought that was pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Intern.
All right. 1 point. I'm on the scoreboard.
I played Media Cup with him too. I was the one that actually had some audio in there. Kicked the ball and it almost hit me in the nuts.
Speaking of our intern, I think he has stat breakdown unless we want to continue to talk.
Shit.
I don't want to spoil everything for Untapped. Go listen to it. Go watch it.
Right. Yeah. Definitely check out our Untapped stuff and everything else. But break us down some stats as we try to prolong any sort of season.
Off-season stats.
Right.
All right. Well, last week we wanted to take a breakdown of shots and shots on goal, as well as goals in regards to penalty kick attempts. And guess what? There isn't much of a trend.
So you
unfortunately,
wasted your
Austin's,
time. Yay,
a little
interns.
Speaking of penalty kicks,
I'm actually putting the blame on Austin on this one, because he was thinking that there'd be, well, if you're in the box more, you should be getting more PKs. It's not really the case.
What's the case?
It's just mostly random.
well, how about, did you guys hear the stat
okay.
this past, again, in the Seattle game, the stat on Howard has faced how many PKs in 42 games? 13? Does that sound right?
It's up there.
I don't know. Where's our intern?
And how about the fact that we had 2 PKs awarded to us this season
Right.
in 34 games?
Yeah.
Only one team was worse.
And we missed half of them.
Orlando.
That's right. Yeah, we did briefly bring that up. Yeah, now that you're kind of, some of those sound familiar because Colin was talking about that, because we were like, we asked about the favoritism, because there clearly is a favoritism with Pro in Seattle.
It's crazy.
So was it that way as far as PK goes? And not necessarily. And so that's kind of what's leading to this discussion, is as far as shots taken versus PKs given, right? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And there really isn't.
I will say this, though. There is one kind of interesting thing. Going back to what Austin said, he theorized that the more shots you take, the more penalty kicks you should probably have. Do you know who has the most shots and the most shots on goal?
Giovinco.
Real Salt Lake.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They had 538 shots this year.
Holy shit. That's
Man,
some pepper.
they couldn't score for shit.
Yeah. And you know how many penalty kick attempts they got?
4.
4.
Wow.
What a guess! Something said 4.
They had
Did they miss 4 of them?
3.
They missed 3 or they made 3?
I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Number as soon as we
Yeah. 7.
They missed 5.
12.
They made all 4.
Oh, they made all 4. Boo.
Yeah.
They missed 5 out of 4.
No, we didn't.
They just Wondolowski'd it so hard, the ref was like, you know what? You can do that one again.
So
do over.
that's what led to the whole issue in my over 30 game, was a PK.
Oh, God.
And my center back went to go to block the ball, and it went between his arm and the side of his body. Didn't touch either. I was fucking right there. And he calls a PK. John, the Asian guy, saves it and gets up and goes, "Fuck yeah!" right in front of the ref. So the ref gives him a red card. And I'm like, dude. And we all were like, dude, he's adrenaline. He just saved the PK. And he goes, he just told me to fuck you or fuck off. And I'm like, no, he's just, he didn't care about the fact that he just saved a PK and adrenaline.
He's probably like 6 months older than Colin.
Well, exactly. This kid's a freaking.
For God's sake.
Well, not even. I don't know. He might be 6 months younger. I don't know. This was a kid, and he seriously said, "Well, I called the penalty, and it was this and that," and he said, And he looked, he was right, dude, you're taking it personally. That's nothing that what he was, you can't take it personally. You can't be a referee and take this shit personally. You're affecting the game because of it. And he just kind of looked at me with a blank stare. And so I was like, all right, I'm done. And I went and sat down with Andrew. And we're sitting there, and the rest of the team they're trying to talk to him. And he's like, I'm not changing my mind. And then they're like, all right, we're done. Walk completely off the field. Andrew and I are like, what the all right, well, we just started talking with the other team. Like, you guys want to scrimmage? Like, we drove an hour, man. We don't want to, like, not play. And then they convinced the ref to change his mind and give John the yellow, and game on.
Oh, my God.
This was like...
It's like VAR.
Oh, it was... God.
Yeah, it was like VAR.
It did make me wish that...
manipulation going on.
Yeah, it did really make me wish that there was somebody out there from like the United States referee, because that's what this kid was wearing, like all the patches and all the whatever. But it's just kind of like, dude, if somebody was evaluating this game, I don't know if you'd be center ever again. Definitely not for a league that is older than you.
Just
But
FYI,
anyway.
we're giving Sunday League highlights.
Yeah, right.
I accounted for both goals on Sunday.
Did you really?
Yep. Scored one
So Brian belongs in the 040s.
and won a PK.
Yeah, you got a PK? Yep. That's awesome. So PKs all around.
Speaking of old people, Colin wanted to ask Brian what a discman was.
That's right.
Did you catch that?
What?
I think you mean a Walkman.
No, a discman. He's that young.
Aw.
He doesn't know what a discman is.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't, because I sure as shit don't.
You don't know what the anti-shock protection is?
Remember that? I used to have one of those in my car. I'd like lay it in the seat next to me.
Welcome to the off-season, Rabbits fans.
I was too cheap to have a CD player in Dash.
Dude, I was too. I had the tape adapter.
Yep.
Oh, the
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Adapter.
pencil? Like when you
Yeah,
pull it
yeah,
out and
yeah,
you
you
have
had
to
to, like-
pencil it back in.
If the
Making love tapes for everyone. Oh, these are my 12 favorite
mixtapes.
songs.
Yep.
When you had to record from the radio.
Exactly. Hit and record from the radio. You wanted to cut off, so the DJ was like, "Stop talking in the intro, you fucker! I want the whole song. I'm trying to give this to the chick I
He
want."
talks
No,
all
you
the way to
just
the
called
words.
Casey Kasem at that time.
You're not going to
played
get
it
on
for
with
you,
Casey
no?
Kasem. You got to go to like KBCO. You got to stay local.
You almost
or
said
whatever.
KY, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I thought he was on it too.
Hear from people who actually are acquainted with this century for once. We have a couple of questions from the Twitters and the chats.
All right.
Fucking intern getting us
Welcome.
back on track, man.
God, what does he think he is? Go back to your ahoy matey intro.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I had already forgotten.
He's got a little bit of captain in him.
Okay.
Is he old enough to have captain in him?
I'm just going to not touch the rest of that one.
God damn it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. What do we
All
got?
right.
Questions.
First question we have here is regarding pretty much the main rumor for head coach. Who is Anthony Hudson?
Some dude.
Yep.
New Zealand
All right.
national team coach that
All right,
hasn't won
moving on.
anything up to this
No,
time.
never mind.
Well, you know,
Aren't you supposed to know this information, Colin?
I do actually know this information.
Okay,
Just
okay.
wanted to give it to you clowns for a couple seconds.
He's a coach.
Oh, why the name calling?
I know, right?
I'm getting a little revenge for once.
Attempting.
All right, so he is a super young coach.
36.
He's only
Like-
36.
It's super young. The 23-year-old is calling
super
it
young.
36,
Yeah.
super young.
Dude, I have socks that are 36.
He's actually wearing them. That's it. That's what he's wearing right now.
Oh, he didn't bring the tuxedo?
Well, if it was a 36-year-old tuxedo, we'd be seeing testicles.
Ew.
Anyway,
Oh, why you got to go there?
All right.
They might be
He
tight
has
still up.
managed...
Miller family, he's joking.
about the
He has
testicles.
managed the Real Maryland FC, also known as Real Maryland Monarchs.
What?
Yeah. USL team.
Oh. Do they play with DC?
Good question. I don't really know.
Okay, Harpos.
So wait. You're saying Real Monarchs?
So there's a-
royalty Monarchs? Like that
And
is
so Maryland's got something royal. What's going on with them?
It's just really
He
coach.
coached them between 2008 and 2010.
Okay. Was that his first team?
Yes.
Okay.
After that, he went to Newport County.
Didn't go very far.
I mean,
Well,
just
and
across
he went
sea.
to Wales.
And don't forget, he's got a little bit of a pedigree in his family.
Did you just call him a whale? Like, is he really
His dad was a
something?
pretty big player coach in England, and so he's been on some of those staffs too.
Aaron Hudson? Allen. I knew it was
Alan
an A.
Hudson.
The River Hudson.
Yeah, no.
No.
Okay, next.
All right.
After he
After
was
that-
in the UK.
Yes. After that, he went to Bahrain, where he went to the U23.
Bahrain.
Which is where, for people who don't have Google or an atlas or a globe, did you ever play with one of those little things that, they're circle? They're like 3D, and you could like spin them, and there's countries on them.
For God's sake.
Colin, you know the world is round, right?
It's not just on the
I'm not
computer
one of the
screen.
Yeah.
Colin
Flat
Flat
Earthers.
I'm just making sure.
He does build satellites for a living, I guess.
He
Anyway,
believes the Earth is flat.
Orbits-
It's just categorically not true.
Orbits around. You know that. It's
Right,
part of your
right,
job, right?
okay. Anyway, where is
Well, technically
Bahrain?
speaking, they can
Or-
be elliptical.
Did I say that right?
Bahrain.
Bahrain.
It's Middle East.
Anyways, yeah, it's in the Middle East.
Next to,
Qatar
close to,
type.
like
Qatar.
you play soccer
I'm
games with
trying
like
to
the
remember
Simpsons
the-
float above you for shade.
These are the type of people sending us to
Lost.
Mars, and he can't even figure out what it is the globe right now.
Well,
He's
who cares
Googling
about
it.
what's
I
on
bet
this
anyway.
Yeah,
planet?
that's
I
because
care about what's on the next
notably,
planet, right?
Mars, not exactly on Earth.
See? That's what I'm saying. All right. Anyway, okay. Screw
Okay, it's
Bahrain.
next to-
Where'd he go?
It's next to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. After that, he was there for 3 years and then moved on to coaching the full national team for 2 years.
At New Zealand or Bahrain.
Bahrain.
Okay.
After that, he moved over where he's simultaneously coaching the New Zealand U23s and the full national team.
That's a task, I
Double dipping.
suppose.
Wow.
Yeah. So apparently he has seen some decent amount of success with both countries and all in the full and U23 national teams. Currently they are in World Cup qualifying where they are expected to play
Peru.
where they are expected to play Peru on the 11th and 15th. So depending on how things go, you might have to wait a couple weeks and then the Rapids will do the Rapids way. And then they will announce that they either signed him or didn't.
So you're
So
saying there's a chance.
is that so? Well, and it makes, I think this is really kind of what's the fuel to the rumor. Is
Gesundheit.
Pare goes on and says, just a couple weeks. We have our guy. We just need a couple weeks. So with only a couple weeks away, there's some international results that are going to change the direction of some people's coaching careers, maybe. It could add fuel to the rumor a little bit. But
Or maybe Ryan Giggs is still on vacation.
Ryan Giggs. That's kind of like Pablo 2.0. I don't know if that necessarily would be so good. But I don't. If he's the guy, I don't really have anything bad to say.
I don't know about it.
Well, that's just it. Well, but I don't know. I think before there are definitely circles and areas that will mock the Rapids way, because in the past it's been very mockable, I suppose. Mockable, as I make up some shit. It would
You don't
be,
need to make
Say
up
it's a
shit.
mock-up.
There's plenty of things to make fun of with the Rapids way.
and that's just kind of, I don't know, if you're going to rebrand some stuff or you're going to say some things, and you just definitely don't repeat it from any of the things that have been passed, because at this point, as far as the supporters are concerned, the ones who've been following this team for longer than anyone's been employed by that team.
Almost actually as long as Colin's been alive.
Right. You've kind of gotten to a point where you're
Why
definitely
do
like
I even try sometimes? It's just get beat down every day.
That's part of being an intern, dude. Welcome to the show. You do a lot of work, and it's shit, and it sucks, and people make fun of you for it, and it gives us listeners and makes us famous.
And can we tell you that technically you're earning as much as the hosts of the show?
Yep. We're on the same pay scale, yo.
Beer.
Not even on the ladder.
It's fucking plateaued.
Is somebody dying in the background?
I know, man. You
Yes.
might need to go check on her. All right. So, anyway, I guess we could kind of start to wrap things up because we're pretty much just shooting the shit at this point. Final thoughts, guys? As we
You
kind
guys want to shoot the shit more? We got another couple questions here.
Oh, yes.
Well, we
Go
don't want
through
to
all
talk
the-
about Nick.
Go through all the questions.
Yeah.
I thought it was Rick.
Rick, right?
Anyway.
Rick.
Anyways, with the rest of playoffs going, do you think it's acceptable to root for another team since the Rapids have been already eliminated / really did not even qualify?
Save the crew.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's absolutely acceptable. There's
Just don't go buy their scarves and shit.
right.
But
That's
you
the
can,
difference.
root
I
for other
mean,
teams.
if you can sit there and say, "Yeah, I'm going for this team. I want this team to win," but I mean, if you totally change your allegiance, that's on you and your own guilty conscience, I suppose. There's no written rule or
we may or may not
unwritten
judge
rule
you.
that says you can or can't.
I'll root for anybody who's not part of the Cascadian Cup. Because if one of those mofos wins, I'm not going to be happy.
Any specific reason or just anti-West Coast?
I'm fucking sick of those guys. Every one of them.
I got beat at dropping an F-bomb.
How's
That's
that?
awesome. All right.
I mean, personally, I'd be pissed if we see Seattle win it again.
Well, considering we've almost opened up the bag on the conspiracy that MLS is trying to gift Seattle another cup, would you be surprised, though?
No.
Absolutely not.
Surprise, no. Very angry, yes.
It would just add to our conspiracy theory, I suppose. But I am definitely on the Crew train. I have friends who are Crew fans and have been from the get-go, so
We
I
should
think
get
it's
some of
only
them on the
fair.
podcast.
I would love to. I will try to reach out to a couple of them and see what they're doing next Tuesday.
You can replace Colin because he's just bitching
Yeah,
all the
pretty
time
rowdy.
over here about having to do work or something.
That's true. Not a
You're
single one of
asking
them
some
would.
Crew fans.
Yeah.
They're pretty rowdy.
If they make it through and there's something for them to talk about next week,
It doesn't matter if they make it through.
that's true. I could think of a couple that would have a lot to say about their owner right now. You think we've bitched about Mustache Man? Yeah. I'll see. I'll see if I can bring on a Crew fan
I'd like to see Houston as the Western Conference delegate.
with a little bit of some Rapids ties
Just because Wilmer
and Vicente.
and Vicente, yep.
You forgot about
And-
Vicente, didn't you?
And Theron, the trainer. No, I watched that game. Vicente looked good for 47 years old.
I know, right?
Still really disappointed we let him go.
Well, I guess,
He wasn't part of the.
Rapids way.
Yeah, he was talented and worked hard.
There.
And cost us more money than probably.
But we kept Powers.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did after we let cut Vicente.
Which, how about that now? We basically have Luis Gil for a fourth of the season. He ain't gonna be back.
Yeah,
So
I don't know
basically,
if Gil,
Dylan was left for nothing.
that was a nice way to shed 350 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
It's money,
wonderful. Can we wash our hands real quick?
Money in the bank.
yeah. All right. Okay, well, anything? Tam, you got any thoughts on any of the shit we just spoke for the last hour?
Was those all the questions, Colin? Was that it? One more or no?
I think that was it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you for those guys in the live chat, by the way. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, gives us something to talk about when we really need something to talk about right now.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. Who has anybody heard rumors on the supporters garage sale? I've seen nothing and heard
Although
nothing.
they keep taking the prices seem higher last
Yeah,
year
they're
or
getting-
last couple years.
they're-
It doesn't
they're-
seem like such a deal.
Yeah, the discount is getting less and less and
Yeah.
less, I think.
But I love wearing their gear. That's right. I got
Or you can
22.
just buy C38 gear. We sell it at every tailgate.
yeah, but it's not player gear, man.
And that stuff's expensive, man. That
Right.
C38. The stinking bucket hat was like $25.
Yeah, well, you know what that paid for? A fucking keg of vanilla porter.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But I never drink.
Well, that's your fault for not coming
Yeah.
out, man.
Yeah, it's not going to stand in the man's pocket.
Right? It's yeah. When you purchase C38 stuff, it has nothing to do with staying the man. There you go.
Yep.
So that's what we tell people when they start bitching about the ownership. It's like, just remember, when you support C38, you're supporting C38. So,
If you can't be C38, be a C38 supporter.
right, support what we support. That'll work. Support the supporters. That was almost close to us asking for money. Okay.
Damn.
Anyway,
So we can close out.
yeah, we are going to close
Ready?
out. Any final thoughts, yo's?
You guys enjoy the next 2 weeks. See you in 3.
All right. So that means B
So
is
3
out.
weeks is when we're going to do the voices.
So we got 2 weeks to prepare for voices.
Sure.
All right, so he's out for 2. He's on the 3rd. So we got 2 weeks for voices. Voicey nominations, send them to us on Twitter at the Voices C38 or any one of the cast members. It doesn't matter. Just send us your Voicey
Those are awards, people.
Voicey Award introduction
Yes.
ideas.
Send us both award ideas as well as your nominees.
Yeah, kind of like the what do you got so far, Colin?
Sorry, let me pull it up.
Oh Jesus!
And don't send them to me
Oh,
because I
man,
won't
this
pay
is-
attention.
I know I'm the worst, but you know what?
You know, kind of like a numpty, manly.
Oh, I know what they are. I'm
You know, I mean, but yeah, that's what we're saying. You know, we're trying to get the nominations and the awards all
Looks
set in order.
best
So
in a
that way-
thong.
Can I get
like,
a timeout just a second?
Yeah.
We have not heard from Tammy the whole time. Can you just give us your thoughts on the season in general? Who knows? We don't know when you'll be back.
That's true, and I have been missing. I am actually more concerned of the start of the season because I know Howard is getting. I know he's the great goalie, but I love McMath, and I hope that he still is goalie. I worry for him.
Interesting. Okay.
Anything else?
What'd you think of the season that we just had?
I don't think it was very strong.
As a as a less than hardcore, I'm not meaning that as a cut down.
As someone who
fan,
enjoys the tailgates more than the game.
I mean, how was
Well-
the season for you?
I think it had a roller coaster because I feel like the tailgates have gotten worse in a bit, and then at the very end it got strong again. And I think it's because of your connections with the
Front office.
The front office. I think as that grows and gets stronger, I think the tailgates will as well because I think they kind of work well together. Because we lost it a little bit in the beginning. Not the game is totally separate, but I think that'll help the tailgates for sure. But it was a frustrating season.
And will the tailgates help the games in turn?
Well, you're going to bring in more fans because I would think if you get people talking about it, it's a fun place and environment to go to who would want to check that out. And
More
then
than
you
Flip
learn
Cup?
more about soccer. I'm a hockey fan. So the more I'm learning about soccer, the more I'm enjoying it and looking forward to the games. Like you have to draw people in and teach them a little bit in a way.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the fun part to bring them in and get them drawn in.
And drunk.
And drunk.
Flip
He might
Cup.
understand the game a little bit more.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? I don't know. I don't know if you want that.
Irish style.
Speaking of shots,
Right.
Jello shot?
We've been making noises the whole cast.
Okay, so back to Voicey Awards, Colin. What do you got? Hello?
Come on, Colin. Jesus, man.
He went to
mute.
the
thank you to all of our
That's my bad.
75 listeners.
Anyways, we have.
I'm sorry,
four-
live people.
We have 4 awards so far.
Award
Going for-
nominations.
Well, yeah.
We haven't given them away yet.
Well, they're just the awards.
Do you want me to?
No, man. These are just nominations. We're trying to put them out there so people can think about who to nominate for these categories. That's the word.
That's what
That's
I'm
the
saying.
word.
We have
Categories.
4 awards right now.
4 award categories.
Categories.
We have most improved player,
What's that?
most deteriorated player,
I like that.
Dope slap of the year.
What's that
and my
about?
personal-
Smack your head, SMH.
Like WTF?
Yeah, like Jared Watt's goal.
Okay.
Yep.
Own goal.
You think of Homer?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Getting a red card in 9 minutes.
Alan Gordon.
Yep.
I saw that one.
Is there another one?
Well, that's what we're asking. If anybody can
There-
think of another SMH moment. What else?
And lastly, my personal favorite, the razor blade filled vagina award for quickest reversal of fortune.
Yeah, I don't get that.
That would be the Jared Watts goal. Own goal.
You're gonna have to explain that one to me off air.
So
You got the
okay,
razor blade?
fine.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Is that like an urban dictionary of soccer?
I don't know.
This is coming from the intern, so hey, it
True.
could be a generational gap or something about the, you know,
Yeah.
it might be lit for all we know. Anyway,
It's not a meme.
you know, exactly, it's something above my fucking forehead. Yeah. All
Probably
right.
from Snapchat or
If
something.
there's a category that you think that we're missing, that definitely has a couple nominations worth, like you can't just give us a
Best flopper?
category like best flopper would be a good one. It doesn't have to be a rapid.
I've got a beef with one of the Rapids, but I won't name names.
Well, that could be part of your flopper. For real though. Like add that one, Colin. Flopper. The I guess I could just kind of
The Carlos Ruiz Memorial Award.
Added.
Play it out. Aloha, friends.
Really hurts.
Thank
No,
you
for
for
real.
continuing to listen to us.
Okay, yeah. All right. Anything else?
Point. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media.
Yeah.
Voice of C38 at Twitter. Same thing on Facebook. If you want to join us in Discord, ask us for a link. Don't forget to go to the YouTube of Centennial 38, where you can catch Untapped, which will be released next Monday. Brendan, where can people find you?
The Dr. Voice _C38 on Twitter.
Brian.
FarmersOnly.com.
I was seriously going to say, look up Brian on Farmers Only. Already there, man. All right. Yeah. Colin.
You can find me on Twitter at the Ace Arbiter.
And you can find me at drunkenmonk _C38, and you can catch us live on Tuesdays, usually at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/drunkenmonkc38, no underscore. So we will catch you next week.
In the basement of your nightmares.
Something like that.
What was his
I got an open mind, like a golden child. You try to go for points, I try to go for style. I do my city proud, I try to keep it wild. Ichiban, wicked one, Okinawa loud. I drink Guinnesses and go to dinner with my nemesis. Have a couple laughs while they plot how to finish this. Interested on how to get up on a wizard list. Senseless, you sense I'm the sensei apprentices. I'm the salt up in the cut. Who you trying to play but us? Like a DJ turning stuff. Who you trying to fool? We all know that shit's unplugged. Yeah.